She, of course, is one of our favorites. We love Maureen Anne Meehan. She's just amazing. And I'm looking at this. I keep looking down because I'm looking at the cover of this book. It's one of my favorites, Deputy Dawg or DB Cooper. And it's a page turner and it's two crimes. Could it be connected? Is it the same person? There's more information that's breaking about DB Cooper. You go back to November 24th, 1971, and you think about what happened then. And so much of that is in this book and the mystery of it. And could it be the same person? So it was so fun to talk to Maureen again about this book and about what we know about DB Cooper. So, Maureen, as always, thanks for hopping on with us.
My
And
pleasure.
when we look at DB Cooper, you and I are both fascinated by this. What are the latest revelations? Because you and I talked about this off the air. The FBI's gotten like 1,000 tips that somebody knows DB Cooper, who the real DB Cooper is. And we have all these little breadcrumbs, but the mystery is so intriguing and we don't know.
So it remains the only unsolved hijacking on U.S. soil. Happened, like you said, November 24th, 1971, from Portland to Seattle. He made his hijacking demands. His ransom was $200,000, which back then was a lot of money. And they accommodated him within about a 4-hour turnaround in Seattle, gave him four very specific backpacks or parachutes, I should say, and he had them fly the 727 at 10,000 feet in a terrible rainstorm. And he had them he lowered the aft stairs and jumped with this money parachuted around his torso, they say. The stewardess who kept him calm and kept every passenger alive because she kept her head on straight uh, was a witness to it. So we know a lot about what happened. What he was wearing a black thin necktie. He was wearing sunglasses the whole time. Ordered a bourbon and Coke or something, and we know and smoked a bunch of cigarettes. So the DNA evidence just didn't provide them with enough feedback when they finally landed the plane in Reno. All true story, but what happened when I was at the Miami Book Fair Saturday after my book signing and I read the news? I get kind of the Daily Mail news, and it was about DB Cooper, which I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding. So the FBI thinks that they might have discovered who it is, and it's somebody they knew about back in 71. Uh, they believe it is Rick McCoy. They believe that Rick then, 5 months later, hijacked a plane in Utah. Same MO. And they believe he was hiding out in southwestern Wyoming with his mother, Karen McCoy, and who passed away in 2020. So this is all a revelation. This is something you and I learned about on this past 2 days ago.
Sure.
So I contacted you right away because I know you love DB Cooper and this unsolved mystery crime. And you and I have been digging into it ever since, as the investigative reporter that you are. And we have learned that these parachutes might have been in their family storage locker in North Carolina. The FBI has since confiscated them recently, and they're now in DNA analysis to see if this is, in fact, the real McCoy, as they say. And I am just fascinated that I wrote Deputy Dawg or DB Cooper as a result of two true crimes. Deputy Dawg was part of the Charles Manson gang in the 70s, and they were kicked out of New York, um, ended up in Boulder, Colorado, because it was hippie town, ended up in where my cabin is in Colorado and Nederland. And Deputy Dawg was his moniker. He was a druggy hippie bad guy. He was not a cool peace and love hippie. He was the opposite. And he shot and killed the Sheriff Gaughnor, at the Pioneer Bar in Nederland, Colorado in 71. Well, fast forward a couple months, DB Cooper hijacks a plane and ends up, now we know as of this morning, we learned
Yeah.
he was in southwestern Wyoming, which makes it, my fiction is that he made it through over the Rockies, ended up in Wyoming, and commits a crime in my hometown of Sheridan, which my protagonist, Mary McIntosh, Mac, has to try to solve. So I bring these two together fictionally, but who knows?
Well, that's exactly what I think. It has that feel that could be it, because there is some intrigue and mystery to that, and the timing of it. And like you say, now that you throw in Wyoming in the middle of that with DB Cooper, wow, like immediately the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I was like, I thought that is crazy that this is a Mary McIntosh novel and Mac is all over this in your book, and the two intertwine so beautifully. How does that make you feel?
I feel inspired. I feel a little bit relieved, maybe, because I wrote this over the course of our last interview. So that was in end of August. I was writing it then. So I finished writing it in early September. And now here we are in November, not 2 months later, and this revelation comes to light Saturday. And you and I are immediately on the horn with one another saying, this is, you can't make up better fiction than true crime. And we have these two crimes now intercepting in in a novel that Mac has to resolve and prosecute. And she she's on it, and I love that. You just get that feeling because I'm writing another one right now that's just the Tooth Fairy Killer. And it's again two true crimes. FBI has been investigating, and I do have fascination with profilers from the FBI, whether it's the Zodiac, which is in Red Hands, what we talked about last week, that they get to investigate some really incredible things that you and I are fascinated by.
And I think a lot of people are fascinated by it. We certainly know that because true crime is absorbed by so many people. And your books are perfect for that, by the way. Anybody at all watching, listening to us, please pick up Maureen's books because you'll be glued to them. And as I say, you can read them. That's the beauty of your books. You're such a good writer, but also it's not a tomb where it's 900 pages and you can't get
Yeah.
through it, even if you love the stuff because you don't have the time.
Well, I don't put filler information in my novels. I really stick to the facts. I have to paint the picture of what the Rockies look like, or the hometown, or the rodeo. You have to incorporate the Native Americans because that's part of Wyoming. So I do try to make sure I do a lot of research. I mean, my files are thick on research before I ever put pen to paper. However, uh, no filler. So you can read one of my novels easily in 2 or 3 days if you want to do that. I I stick to it, but I try to make it at the pace at which I'm writing it, which is quick.
There was many stepping stones. So if you look at them again, here's the front of the book, the front cover, Deputy Dawg or DB Cooper. And in the book in chapter 10, you talk about it. If he survived the jump, then he was on the lam since November 24th, 1971. And then something peculiar happened. Like you were talking about the research. On February 10th, 1980, 8-year-old Brian Ingram was vacationing with his family. What happened then?
So they are, he's supposed to be gathering like driftwood, if you will, to make their campfire. They're camping on the beach at the port the by the Columbia River. And he's digging around trying to get what dad asked him to get. And they're going to be fishing, camping, family getaway. And Brian sees these dollar bills by the mouth of the river. And he picks them all up and he goes and shows his dad. His dad looks at them, and they're minted a long time ago. And everyone knows about that crime in that area, particularly. This is, right in that space where he probably jumped, they assume. And now they find the FBI ties the money to the marked bills that they gave him when he jumped out of this airplane. So this Brian did in fact recover a little bit of that money, and the FBI eventually awarded it to him after they'd done their DNA analysis and done what they needed to do. I don't think they gave him those bills, but they reimbursed him for what he did find. But this little kid was just on a family camping trip, and fine. So they know he landed. But that was the end of it from 80. They didn't know if he died and his body was somewhere in the they searched for him forever, but they never found any evidence. That was the first sign of any evidence that he did hit the ground or the money hit the ground.
Right. Why do you think it is that we're so fascinated by DB Cooper? Not just you and I, but so many people.
He was able to pull off a hijacking in U.S. soil. It's never happened before and gone unsolved. His moniker DB Cooper wasn't even his name. He went by his ID to get by that cash ticket in Portland one way was D Cooper. Some investigative reporter somehow slipped the B in there, so there is no real DB Cooper. It was D Cooper. So there's a lot of things that happened along the way. People name their dogs after DB Cooper. He has this it's cult-like following because he pulled off the perfect crime and got away with it, we assume. And the fact that now we've learned just this, in the last 2 days that his mother was complicit in it, and his adult children now have come forward to the FBI with the parachutes. And this is all new.
And you just wonder how many other details we're going to hear about, and then what the rest of the family knew, and how that could have been covered up for as long as it was covered up.
Well, his daughter Shantae, who and his son Rick, these are his adult kids, have held this secret all these years, and they waited until their mother passed away to come forward because they didn't want to have her implicated in covering up two crimes, big ones. The hijacking in Utah, he took $500,000. So we have two crimes within 5 months, identical hijackings, where he's got $700,000 back in 71 and 72. That's a lot of money. And his mother in southwestern Wyoming, covered it for him. So this is all new and it's amazing.
It is
Truly.
amazing. And your book is amazing. And the timing is crazy that you've got it out there. That's why get the book now, because you will just be pulled right into it. And for the details you don't know, they're all in here. Everything that's happened. That's why I brought up that one little moment with the
Yeah.
money, because you've got
Yeah.
it all laid out.
I really did research this book uh, with all my glory that I could. And I really, like I told you, I was fascinated by both crimes. Deputy Dawg in where my cabin is in Colorado, to have shot the sheriff and got away with it on the lam. It's amazing that these two crimes happened within a couple months of one another and they converge. And who knows? But also, I am working, as you know, with some Hollywood producers right now for either major motion picture or a series based on Mary McIntosh. And we're working, like, calling him Mac if it goes Yellowstone-like, because she's a very strong female protagonist. And there's not a lot of that in Hollywood. We need more of that. And so I love her character. It is based on my legal secretary who was murdered in 1997 in Orange County, California. That was my way of keeping her alive. So a lot of this converges into something very special to me. But this DB Cooper
Incredible.
situation, it's incredible.
Here it is. Get it. You will be sucked into this book, just like I am. Wonderful story. Deputy Dawg or DB Cooper. Woo, intersecting. Could it be the same?
Could it be? Who knows?
Until we talk again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate. I will talk to you soon.